listening to America's Morning News.
Good morning. This is America's Morning News, where the nation's news breaks on this Wednesday, June 4th. I'm Matt Ray. One Defense Department spokesperson says there's no reason to think that a video released by the Taliban of the transfer of Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl to U.S. forces is anything but genuine. Though the recording is being reviewed, a statement accompanying the video characterizes the swap for 5 Taliban officials as a significant achievement. Well, speaking of Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl, will he be court-martialed for desertion? Many of those who served with them are calling him a deserter, not a hero. That brings us to our guest this hour. He's Brian Bouffard. He's an attorney who specializes in military cases. He's a former lieutenant commander and JAG officer as well. Brian, good morning. Thank you for joining us here on America's Morning News.
Good morning, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Will he be court-martialed for desertion?
That's in large part a political question, and the commander-in-chief appears to be making noises that he does not want that to happen. He can certainly tell his generals, I don't want him prosecuted, and if he does that, he's not going to be prosecuted.
When you say it's a political question, what do you mean by that?
The issue of whether or not a crime has been committed here is a matter of evaluating the evidence and seeing where it leads you. But, what we're seeing out of the White House is more of a sense of wanting to treat him as an American hero. He may be. We don't know all the facts yet, but certainly the facts that I've seen or that I think are credible are the words of his platoon mates and the people who were there on the ground with him, and they certainly are overwhelmingly indicating that he is anything but a hero, that he actually deserted his unit in time of war, and if you do go to court-martial for something like that, there's the possibility of facing the death penalty for it.
Well, outside of witnesses, and we've heard from several of those who have served with Bergdahl now, outside of witnesses, what criteria needs to be met for a conviction for desertion?
For conviction for desertion, they need to prove that somebody was away from their unit, but more importantly, they need to prove that at the time that the person left, they had the intent to remain away permanently. In other words, if I'm just, at Camp Pendleton or wherever here, and I decide to go AWOL and for a long weekend, and then I come back, I'm not a deserter. I'm somebody who went AWOL or somebody who was unauthorized absent. This is a lot more serious, particularly in time of war. And what we're hearing from the people who were there with him on the base, indicating that, he laid down his arms and he walked off the base and, potentially walked into the hands of the Taliban. He very likely committed desertion. He very likely also may have committed 2 other serious offenses, wartime offenses, misbehavior before the enemy, and potentially aiding the enemy if he gave them any information at all. And all 3 of those offenses could carry a possible death penalty. So it's not just desertion. It's potentially, at least up to 3 offenses that I can see right off the top of my head.
That permanent, you mentioned that he has to remain absent permanently, so he had the intent to do so. In your opinion, what would prove that in this case, outside of those that he served with and possibly those emails that we saw that went to his parents saying he was embarrassed to be an American, and in not so many words, he was fed up?
Absolutely. I think all that plays significantly into what his mindset was. The question is going to be, do we believe that when he laid down his arms and walked off the base and potentially walked right into the Taliban that he had posted sympathetic attitudes toward, do we think that he had the intent, I'm just going to do this for a little while and then I'm going to come back? I really don't think so.
Why was he promoted to sergeant in absentia? Why was he considered a prisoner of war? The president already called him a prisoner of war. He was never designated as a deserter or taken off the Army's rolls. Why did all of this happen? That seems like a big hurdle in order for this guy to be court-martialed.
A couple issues there. First of all, the issue of his promotion is really a non-issue. That's just a purely administrative thing that happens when somebody is captured or a POW. They're automatically promoted along with their peer group. So that has nothing to do with merit or lack of merit. The other issue is the fact that he wasn't taken off the rolls. I think that that's something that certainly should be and would be considered in his favor. But on the other hand, I suspect that a full criminal investigation was never done in this case. I mean, at this point, or in 2009 when he left, I mean, they may have had some indication, but they didn't have a body to prosecute at that point, and probably they didn't expend the resources on doing a full criminal investigation. In my opinion, that's part of what they need to be doing now. And certainly there are ways that, you know, if I were his attorney, there's certainly some issues that I would look at to try to protect my client in that as well.
Brian Bouffard is an attorney at law, judge advocate. The website is jagdefender.com. Brian, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Matt, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. More breaking news on the way. You can follow the show on Twitter at @MattRayTalk. Just use the hashtag AMN. And also, if you're traveling and can't get America's Morning News in your area, find us on the TalkStream Live app by heading on over to TalkStreamLive.com. You're listening to America's Morning News, journalism without agenda.
You're listening to America's Morning News.